All right, I guess I'll call us back to order. Welcome, everybody. We are back from executive session. In accordance with South Carolina Code of Laws 1985, Section 30-4-80-E, the following have been notified of the time, place, and agenda of this meeting. The Fort Mill Sun, the Herald, the Charlotte Observer, CN2, and WRHI. First, can I get a motion to call us back into open session?
Motion to return to open session.
Second.
All right, we are back in open session. While in executive session, we discussed safety and security, legal and contractual matters, personnel matters, superintendent goals evaluation. We do not have any actions to take. Oh, we do have an action to take. You're right. Okay. Before we do that, let me ask if you would please join me for a moment of silence. Thank you. We'll now stand for the Pledge of Allegiance. I pledge
Allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands,
one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all. Thank you. As I said, we are going to have an action item in just a second. You've all received a copy of the agenda. Are there any adjustments or corrections to the agenda? Then that will stand as presented. Actions. Can I get a motion? Are you okay?
I don't know, I think I'm dying over here. I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration to name Emily McQuay as the new director for the Virtual Academy.
Second.
And I'm going over here, I'll be right back.
We have a motion and a second to name Emily McQuay as the new director of the Fort Mill Virtual Academy. Any discussion? All right, all those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, that motion carries. Just for those of you who are confused by that, just a clarification. She's been working with Christine McNeil, but Christine will be eventually transitioning into her full-time job as the principal of Forest Creek Middle School. And so,
Already has transitioned.
okay, already has. So congratulations to Emily for now being officially responsible for the Virtual Academy. Do we have any other action items? Okay, I didn't think so. All right, do we have any public participation? We do not today. All right, we do have just a few agenda items. We'll start off by getting an update on the district report card from Mr. Matt Roaring. So if you will make your way up to the podium.
Good evening, everyone. All right, so this is kind of thinking back to the report card from 2020. So this is the 2019-20 school year and everything associated with that for the report card. We did still have a report card, even though a lot of the testing was waived and the ratings were waived. So I really just want to go over what we do have to report on, but there are several things that I want to celebrate as we have seen some successes from this past school year. So I'll highlight those and make sure that we have all of that ready to go. All right, so there's just an explanation of the accountability purpose. The express goal of the accountability system is to improve teaching and learning so that students are equipped with a strong academic foundation and to ensure that all students graduate with the world-class knowledge, skills, and characteristics as defined by the profile of the South Carolina graduate. The accountability system is designed to promote high levels of student achievement through strong and effective schools. And I won't read everything to you, but there are a few things here. So the whole report card has limited data. The Department of Education approved South Carolina's request on March 27, 2020 to waive all of these spring statewide assessments due to school closures that was associated with the pandemic. And the accountability ratings were waived, and the reporting requirements in Elementary and Secondary Education Acts in ESSA for that last school year were waived due to the school closures. So, like I said, a lot of things were limited, and this statement is actually found in, and I'll just in red on all of the report card indicator landing pages. So you can see they've kind of made sure that everyone knows that you have limited data for the 2019-20 report card. So this is the kind of when you do a search on that report card site, this is the landing page that we go to. And I just want to point out that there was a little bit of an update here, especially with the narrative section that you can find on the report card site. Schools were able to complete that through a summer survey. Principals filled that out. The district was able to fill that out with updates and kind of successes that they had throughout the 1920 school year. Our district narrative included updates on the new school openings and the virtual academy opening. A lot of it reflected the challenges that we've had, or we did have, during the 1920 school year. Okay, so really quickly, we'll just go through all the indicators. Academic achievement, nothing. We didn't have any state testing, so that was part of that waiver. We really just don't see any data there to report on. So we'll move ahead to preparing for success. This one we do have a little bit of data. The Kindergarten Readiness Assessment, or KRA, was completed at the beginning of the 2019-20 school year. So we do have just some comparisons there between 2018-19 and 2019-20 for the school district. And then I just put on there the state averages for students that are coming to us ready to learn. So you can see we've stayed pretty consistent in just about all of those different areas and well above the state
Incoming
average.
kindergartners.
Yeah, so these are first year kindergarten coming to us ready to learn or not ready to learn.
So how do they evaluate some of this? Like, how would you evaluate the social foundation? That's not something you could test, like math or reading.
Right. So there's some observations that teachers do. They ask just some questioning, how students are lining up, if they're sharing some of those social skills that they would need to kind of score highly in that area is more observational than anything.
And is this some of the testing that's done in the first 10 days of school?
This
or
is
that
actually the first
beforehand?
45 days
Oh,
they have to
okay, so it
complete
takes a
this.
while.
There's a lot that the kindergarten teachers have to go through, not something they can complete in
So
just a couple
This isn't
days.
part of the, I can't think of what it's called, the assessments that they were doing when we just.
No, this is not part of the pre-post test mandate. This is part of, it's every year they complete
Okay.
this. And then in that same section, we were able to update, and the state, a lot of districts didn't report on this, but a lot of districts did. We were one that did. Preparing for success, we take our first graders and second graders and kind of see where they are in relation to projected performance on SE Ready. So in 2018-19, we had map testing to use. So you can see those percentages there of first graders and second graders on track. And then in 2019-20, we switched over to STAR, and you can see our percentages increased a little bit. This is kind of a moving target for the state because not all districts are using STAR, not all districts are using MAP. Some are using their own criteria to kind of input this data into the system. So those state averages seem low to me, especially with not everyone reporting this year. They are lower than they have been in the past, but our scores seem to be pretty high. So we seem to be doing pretty well with our first and second graders on track as we look at their future performance projected out on state testing at the end of the year.
If you look at-
Because we're well over 70-something% by the time they get to third grade at the end of the year. I mean,
Right, we're right around there. So
If you look at where they were as kindergartners at the 33 and 30% percent, and then at the end of first grade and second grade, they're really jumping. So you can see our teachers are working hard and
Right.
those kids are learning quickly.
yes, I have a slide on the impact that we have all throughout their K through 12 soon. It's coming up. Okay, and then we're going to move on. So academic achievement, preparing for success, there was a little bit of information there. English learners progress, this is something else that was reported on because we actually finished access training, this is all based on right before schools closed. I think the end of the window was the Friday before we went out on that Monday or something like that. So access testing was completed. So our scores continue to be really high in this area. Our EL learners are progressing according to a nice little table that the accountability manual gives us. We kind of have our access students, our students that take access, our EL students scoring at one level the first year, and then they're supposed to progress to a target the second year, third year, and fourth year, and then hopefully we can progress them out. Right now we're scoring at, looks like 69.3% of the access testers are meeting that proficiency target, well above the state average, and this is actually #1 in the state compared to other districts.
So this isn't for a specific grade, this is just, depending on what grade you're in, your target for that grade and your progression from last year to this year.
Correct, so it's a table that they have, and you just kind of correlate their score for that, whatever grade level they're in, doesn't really matter, with their projected performance and their target score.
Did I hear you say what we were rated in the state?
#1.
Okay, I thought I missed that.
Yes. Kudos to Amber Smith and her team of EL teachers. They really are doing a fantastic job. And another area that we are rated really, really high in the state, I believe #2 behind the governor's school, unfortunately. But our students are progressing throughout their time with us, and then our graduation rate continues to go up. You can see I've listed the graduation rate percentages from 2017 all the way to 2020, an increase all the way up to 95.7% graduating last year.
And this is an on-time graduation rate, so it's the 4-year graduation.
Correct,
rate.
correct. And then college and career readiness, again, kind of a moving target. I've just kind of shared the previous couple of years. This year, though, on the state report card, they only reported on the college readiness, or sorry, career readiness. So we had to ask Renee Beck, part of our team in our office, to run some data for us. So she spent a lot of time going through and actually calculating our numbers for the district, because the state didn't give us our numbers. They were, I think, there were some elements missing. I think SAT, ACT, some things that were associated with school closures that we just didn't have for college readiness. So they only give us those career readiness numbers. So if you look on the report card site, it's just career readiness. But we were able to calculate our percentages. And again, kudos to everyone in the district for kind of increasing these numbers from year to year as well. Okay. All right, this is my favorite one. The student engagement survey was not administered last year, so it's my favorite because I don't have data to explain, because that's always a hard one to explain. But so both the student engagement survey and the parent, teacher, and student survey from the State Department were not administered last year due to school closures. So there's nothing to report on in this.
Have they gone out this school year? Do you know?
No, we actually haven't heard yet. They were out for, they were trying to figure out, our contract was up with the vendor for the student engagement surveys. So they were trying to figure out another way to measure student engagement and to include that on the accountability.
At the state level, not at the district
State
level.
level, yes. So we have not heard really how they're going to replace that metric.
I can tell you from the SCASA meetings with the superintendents, the last time we met, they had not yet determined.
Okay. Still waiting to hear. I haven't really heard if they're administering the parent, teacher, student surveys either. I'm assuming they are. I haven't heard if they have not, or that they are not. Okay, so that really just wraps up everything, all the indicators that had data or maybe did not have data. So here's just kind of an overview of all the things that we can celebrate in the district. We had 54.5% of our kindergarten students demonstrating readiness on KRA compared to the state average of 39.2%. We were up in our CTE completers by 60 students from 2019. The school district dropout rate was well below the state average. The percent of teachers returning from previous year, this was from last school year, so beginning in 2019, was up to 90.5%. Our total SAT score average was up, and that was second in the state, and our ACT mean composite score was also second in the state.
And I presume second to the governor's school as well.
Governor's school always gets us.
Wow.
I know.
All right, I'll take that.
And CTE, that's your CAPE programs?
Yes, yes.
Okay, that's the new
Correct.
titles.
Okay, so here's what I think, and I'm going to try to include this every year when I report out the report card for you all. Thanks to Joe Burke for the graphic with this one. But we do have just a tremendous impact on our students. So we start, the kindergarten students came to us this year, 54.5% ready to go, ready to learn for kindergarten. By the time they got to second grade, that on track for success number, we were able to bring them up to 74.3%. And then we continued on all throughout their K through 12 careers, up to 86.8% college or career ready, and then we're graduating students at a rate of 95.7%. So just a tremendous impact that we have on students all throughout their educational careers.
Well, and I know you don't have a lot of data from last year, but the good news is it's a pattern, right?
Right.
This progression,
Yes.
the percentage points might change by a decimal here or there, but this kind of progression has been evident for a long time, and the fact that it stayed evident last year in the crazy year that we had in the last, 18 weeks? No, how many weeks of the school that they missed
Exactly.
is impressive.
Right, right.
12 weeks.
Okay, so my last slide here, just to kind of show you that we really don't know what's going to happen with accountability next year. The Education Oversight Committee are really, and the SEDE are meeting. They're trying to figure out how to change the accountability manual to make up for some of this lost test data and the student engagement survey going away and things like that. We just still haven't heard exactly what it's going to look like for next year. We're still testing. We're in the middle of our EOC window. Spring testing seems to be on. There is a bill, I believe, that's getting introduced tomorrow by the Education Subcommittee to kind of make it so that testing will happen and testing scores will be reported on the report card next year. Ratings might not be reported though, so that's, I think, being introduced tomorrow. The EOC does recommend that the rating systems are waived, which I think is a great idea because we just don't, there's so many unknowns with testing, and that's a large part of the rating systems. So there's really just a lot to be determined, and I will try and keep you as up to date as possible with all of that.
And there are also state level decisions being made about not only which testing, but which has to be done in person, which they're allowing virtual. I know there's some that they have, but some that they haven't. And with our virtual students, that's been some challenges, but all of those decisions are being made individually, case by case, right?
Yes, yes. Yeah, we're trying as best we can to accommodate everyone. We're just, the state says that they have to come in person, so that's really what we're going by. And I don't see that changing for the spring, but you never know. Any other questions? Okay,
All right, thank you
thank
very
you.
much.
Thanks.
Our next topic is discussion on the high school program of studies. Dr. Michael Wakesas, welcome to the podium.
Good afternoon. You all have a copy of the program of study at your table, and tonight I just want to briefly talk to you about the book. So, as most of you know, this is the district program of studies that we give to all of our rising ninth graders. They receive a hard copy. It's also put on the websites of the schools. But basically, this is a book that contains all of the courses that we offer, the graduation requirements, some scholarship programs that are offered by the state, and just look at the CTE programs and career clusters. So it's a one-stop shop of all the things that kind of matter in high school as far as the curriculum goes, the courses go. We have a contest each year for our students to design the cover, and we did that again this year, and the student is going to be recognized at the next board meeting, so I won't celebrate him right now, but you see he has done some awesome work as usual. There are a few things I do want to point out that's a little bit different. Well, first, for our new board member, last year we completely did an overhaul on the book, so there was a ton of changes last year. This year we made some tweaks, but not nearly as much as in the past. But if you look on page 12, wanted to point out we have some information about the virtual academy, and of course we know there is a lot in the air of how that might look next year, so it's kind of vague, but it does have some information in there about the virtual academy. On the next page is the diplomas of distinction, which I talked about at the last board meeting, where we are moving to the state diploma of distinction. So there's a chart in there, and it shows the students exactly what they would need to do to earn the different seals to get the diploma of
This
distinction.
reflects the new state
Yes,
ones that we talked about over the
Yes.
last couple weeks and not what we used to have in here for our own.
correct. It has the state version, and where it said in the past about the district diploma of distinction, it says we are now offering state diplomas of distinction. See page 13.
Dr. Wakesness, will you remind me again, who would be eligible to be on this plan compared to our old plan? Would it be all high schoolers or just not the seniors graduating in 2021, obviously,
It's for next year. So the student is graduating in 2022.
and below? Okay.
Yep. And then, yeah, and then thereafter. One other thing, or two other things I wanted to point out. If you look on page 34, there's several pages of graphics in this book that our students work to recreate to try to make it a little bit more clear, where it shows the progressions of classes and all the different options that students have. So it may not jump out at you because you don't look at it as closely as we do, but we try to make it a little bit more succinct in showing the pathway of classes, like the bottom one on page 34. There's a whole lot of options. Students typically in this track take physical science, CP, biology 1 CP, and then any one or two of those remaining ones. Where before it looked a little bit more jumbled, like you had to take one class before you could get to the other in that group. So we just tried to clean it up. And the students at Catawba Ridge, they helped us with the rework of the graphics on there.
Looks great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
It's much easier to read.
Yes. And then the last thing I wanted to point out is all the way on page 81. And if you remember last year, we added a lot of our different special education programs into the book that weren't there. So we were excited about that last year to get that corrected. And this year we just put a little bit more on there, the actual courses they take and the course numbers. So last year we added in the programs, some of the ones that we are, all the programs that we have for our secondary special education students. This year we just made sure to have it exactly the same as our CP and honors level classes with the course numbers and the names. So I know that is a lot of information in the book, but are there any questions on the program of study?
It's not a question, but I'm going to mention one other thing. I know just out and about, I get into a lot of conversations about CTE programs, and that we need to really think about making sure we offer enough CTE programs. And I would encourage anybody who's interested in anything like that. Like I said, I don't know if it's already out on the district website, but it will be updated on the district website soon.
Yes, I believe it's already up there.
Starting on page 21, there are 3 or 4 pages, maybe 5 pages, of different clusters of CTE
Right.
learnings and opportunities that's not strictly, business majors for college or engineers, right? There's
Right.
a lot of other paths that students can take, which is exciting, and I don't think a lot of times that parents know to go look for that, so.
Certainly. And also the courses that we have are not in there for York Tech because they're not technically part of our CTE program, but it's a traditional CTE program, the welding and the auto body collision and building construction.
Where would someone get information about those if they were interested?
They get that through their counselors. Each school, we typically have a informational night. Last year we did it at the district office. The year before that it was at the schools. But that's just for juniors and seniors, so it's not presently in the book. It'd probably be a good idea to put in the book.
A link of some sort, just a little summary about them out on somewhere on the district website, kind of like this is.
Certainly.
Helpful, I think.
Yes.
All right. Questions for Dr. Waceness?
Fantastic.
Thank you.
You do have, though, an action item as well,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Not just the book.
Right. Okay. So the next thing I'm going to talk to you about is a new course that we are proposing, and typically this would have been done before we created the program of study, and I would have done this and asked you for the approval of it before we did the book. But this came about a little bit late in the game, but it's a great opportunity, so I want to kind of talk you through the process and which course we are talking about. So typically when we add a new course, we always add It seems like several new courses each year. We have discussions at the school level. It goes from the teachers to the department head to the school level administration. Then it comes to the district office. We work with the principals and the assistant principal of instruction on that. That gets approved on all those levels. We get a group of teachers come in and we work on the curriculum. And then if we think we are comfortable with our progress, we bring it to the board for approval. So we have been talking about the last several years about a math course, a fourth level math course that is appropriate for a certain group of students that aren't being currently really met, their needs aren't being met. So we had been working on that, and we were worried that it was not going to be, let me jump back. So a local board approved class, which you did a lot of those last meeting, we reapproved those. Those count as elective credits. It does not count as a core class. I think we might have talked about this. In order for it to be counted as a core class, it has to have state board approval in addition to your approval. So we wanted to do something like that with math, but then we found a course that is actually already approved by the state that is geared towards the need that we have. So that's the course that we are going to propose for approval. And it's called Ready for College Math. It's a CP level class. And it was in your board packet, and you see there, it really takes not a lot of new material, but material students should have already learned to get them to master it. And the goal of the course is to make sure when they get to a technical school or a community college, they're not required to take remedial math before they could start with the first level math class. And SREB is the group that put this course together. And this is a consortium that has been around since 1948 and works with 16 states on a lot of research. And they actually developed this course with community colleges and technical schools as part of the group, with the goal, like I said, making it where when students come to a two-year school, they're not required to take a remedial math class. So they take the material that they probably learned in Algebra 1 and geometry, but maybe not mastered it to the point where they're going to be good to go once they get to college. So rather than making them take something new, it really solidifies what they have already learned. And this is already approved by the state. It's in the course code, the course book for the state, so it counts as a math credit. So a few things to note, I guess, for this course. Is it for all students? This is not for all students. This is geared towards students who are specifically planning to attend a technical or community college. It is not NCAA approved, meaning if a student has any hopes of playing sports at the collegiate level, this would not be a course for them. And it's also not approved as a course for entrance into a four-year university. So if someone was looking to go to Clemson or USC, this is not a course that we would allow them to take. The typical progression of courses for students that would be most likely to take this course would be they would take foundations in algebra, intermediate algebra, geometry, CP, and then this would be an option for the students. Typically now, students on this path, on the fourth level course, would go into statistics and probability, but we have found over the years that's a struggle point for some students. We just don't feel that we're serving their best needs for their future goals with them having to take the course, and that's why the state put this class in. Sometimes also if a student is in Algebra 1 in the 9th grade and they fail that course and they have to redo foundations and intermediate, that might be a student that this would be a good fit for as well. But typically we would see this would be the progression. I anticipate having one class, one section at the most at each school, maybe not even having the section at every school, but it would be certainly an option for some of our students. And this is something our math teachers have been asking for probably for years.
I was flipping through because you have to have 4 maths as a part of the graduation
Correct.
requirement. So you do have to still take a total of 4.
Right.
So this is a very helpful fourth
Yes.
to fit into that path.
Yes. Yeah, so as I mentioned, the Department of Ed has already approved the course. It counts as a mathematics graduation credit. Our teachers will be trained by SREB this summer. There's an initial cost to the program, which is very low, but that pays for the training. And then after that, there's not like a recurring fee or anything. It's just for the training, which is a great thing. We want our teachers trained in it. They provide the textbook in a PDF form, so there's not textbooks to buy. They said if you want to print them out and bind them and give them to the students, you can, but most of the districts that use it, they just use the PDF. And our kids are getting more and more comfortable with using that. So with that being said, are there any questions about this course?
So if I'm a new hire to the district, 3 years from now, I would still take this course, right? I would take the training course for this so I can teach this?
Any teacher that would teach this course has to have the training from SREB. So our thought would be this summer we would train probably 2 teachers from each school. And then not necessarily that we would need 2 teachers at each school, but just to have them trained. And then kind of like as we train our AP teachers as needed, when they come on board, if we know we're going to have an opening for this course, they would get trained.
Any other questions? How to entertain a motion?
I'd like to make a motion that we accept the recommendation of the administration for Ready for College Math CP.
Second.
Motion and a second to accept the Ready for College Math CP as a new course. Any further discussion or questions? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? All right, new class.
Thank you.
Is it already in the book?
It is not in the book, unfortunately. But our counselors, it's a very targeted group of students, so our counselors will know who to work with on it.
And we can get it in the online version at least.
Yes, certainly.
Awesome. All right, and now we have another action item. At our meeting 2 weeks ago, we got our first reading of the upcoming academic calendar for the next 2 years. And Mr. Burke is here to talk to us about it again.
Yep. Again, we have already presented to you guys the calendars at the last board meeting. We've not had any changes to those calendars following that meeting. So tonight we're back again to see if we can go ahead and approve the next 2 years. I'm happy to go through them again with you if you have any other questions. But just the quick basics, we're starting on the 3rd Monday as allowed by law. We would be out before Memorial Day in both the versions of these calendars. They're very similar and both include exams before the winter break.
Whoop, whoop.
I know the kids that are taking them this week would be very happy to have
Yes.
that over with several weeks ago.
Yep.
So are the parents?
Yeah, exactly.
Yes.
Talk for one more second about weather or inclement weather days.
Yes. On the calendar, we do have marked inclement weather days because that is still written into the law that we must provide at least 3 of those marked days on our calendar. But as the district is moving towards the virtual inclement weather makeup day, we'll have a lot more freedom with how we're going to utilize those days in the future. Obviously, the administration and our academics department can work with the schools and determine if we're going to just go ahead and make it up the day that we're out, or if we're going to look to use one of those days that is pre-marked on the calendar as a virtual makeup day.
Or an in-person if we chose to.
Or an in-person, yeah. And that's the thing. We'll have the option to do either or. So if we feel the necessity to bring in people or bring in-person return, we could do that, or we could stick with the virtual model as well.
I move that we approve the proposed 2021 to 2022 and 2022 to 2023 calendars.
Second.
All right, we have a motion to approve the 21-22 and 22-23 calendars as proposed. Any further discussion? My only request would be that, we don't know what the summer is going to look like, and so this is our best guess based on current information, and that we make all the right disclaimers on this, and as things progress, we'll.
Yeah, we've seen that movie last summer.
We have.
They have to-
Especially the one.
we'll
the
deal
one
with
2
it if
years
we have
out.
to.
Every calendar we create comes with the caveat and the disclaimer at the bottom that it
Might
could
make it
change at
bigger.
any time, either because they change the law or because something crazy happens as the past year. So,
With
Plans, but we can't guarantee them.
yes.
with that caveat, I believe it was a very popular decision to release 2 years
Yes.
at one time. I've gotten a lot of feedback about
I
how
will
positive
say
that
this.
is.
Yep. I will say this. We did
I
post out.
remind
on-
everybody about that.
Yeah.
We did post out on social media these 2 calendars just to see if we got some feedback, and for the first time, a calendar post had next to none response, and what little response it had was positive. So I was very pleased and surprised to see that.
All right, very good.
Thank
All right, any further discussion? All those in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We have 2 years' worth of calendars.
This is history.
I know, and speaking of history,
That
it's
has got to be.
5:35, and I would entertain a motion to
I'd like to
adjourn.
make a motion to adjourn this meeting.
Second.
All right, well, thanks, everybody, for joining. Quick and short and sweet, but we are adjourned. I think it is. Joe, we good?
Better make sure they're all, if you get ready.